Hi there, and welcome to another video. A viewer recently suggested that I take a look at Mabox Linux, a distribution built on top of Manjaro and Openbox. Upon further research, it turns out that in addition to Mabox, there's also Manjaro Openbox Community Edition available. So today, why don't we take a look at both of them? The Manjaro Community Editions feature additional desktop environments that are not officially supported but track the official Manjaro releases very closely. Let's do the OpenBox CE version first. Let's boot with open source drivers and see what happens. It's your typical Arch/Manjaro boot process. And it's using the Manjaro hardware database as well, which is good to see. So there it is. That's our default live Community Edition install environment. Let me do Super T, launch a terminal. Let's fix the screen resolution. I'd like this configuration, 1920 by 1080. So let's do xrandr -- output virtual-1 -- mode 1920 by 1080. Hit enter. That looks a lot better. If you're installing this on bare hardware, you probably don't need to run xrandr at all. It will detect your monitor properly in all likelihood. So let's launch the Manjaro Linux installer. This is, of course, Kronos. And the good old trusty Calamares installer. So it's auto-detecting everything just fine. We'll breeze through this. Today, I'm selecting ButterFS as the root file system because this is a rolling release and I like to be able to use timeshift to roll back if needed. So my username is Steven. I'll name this computer ManjOB1. Give myself a password, enter it twice to make sure I typed correctly. We'll use the same password for the administrator account. We'll click Next. No Office Suite for a fair comparison. We'll click Next. And it looks like the summary looks just fine. So we'll just click Install. Install now. And skip over all this tedious stuff and just go right straight to the completion of the installation, which is all done. Let's restart now. And click Done. And there we are. This, I believe, is SDDM, the SDDM Simple Display Manager. Let's log in. It says update standard folders to current language. So we'll just rename the new folder names. Don't ask me again, and update. Never seen this before, don't really know what this is about, but it seems to work. So, okay, Super T. Let's open up the terminal and let's change our screen resolution via the .config openbox autostart file. And let's see where we're going to put our xrandr line. Probably put this at the very end. Let's create a new section here. I don't think we have a resolution section. Haven't seen it anyway. We'll just put screen resolution in the comment line. And then beneath that, we'll do an xrandr. And then as before, it's -- output, virtual-1, and then -- mode, 1920 by 1080. And that should make our screen resolution permanent. Again, if you're on bare hardware, you probably don't need to do this. I'm on a KVM, so Gotta go through this process. Let's log out. And let's log back in again. Type my password. And there we go. We've got a better screen resolution for you guys. So first things first, let me open up Terminal with the Super T combination. And let's make the font size of the window a little bit bigger. And let me do free-H. And so you can see, we have only 312 megabytes used as it's running. It's a very light system. The file system table shows thusly. Looks like everything is in defaults and configured properly for time shift, which we'll configure later. So uname-A shows a relatively recent kernel from a couple of weeks ago. 5.15 is LTS. NeoFetch is not installed. Interestingly enough, is Pamac installed? No, Pamac, even though this is a Manjaro CE Community Edition, is not installed. So very interesting. So let's fix that. Let's do sudo pacman-syu. Make sure we're up to date. Yeah, it's found a Firefox update and a Spectre Meltdown Checker update. So let's do that quickly. Now, what we can do is we can sudo pacman -S and then neofetch. Install this for a useful system overview. Clear the terminal and type neofetch. So yes, there we are. We're running a XFCE desktop environment. The window manager is Openbox. The theme is Norse Solid. The terminal is Sakura. And 342 megabytes is reported by neofetch. Again, very, very light. It's Z shell as the default shell. Yeah, there it is. So we're running Z shell instead of the more usual bash. That's fine. Z shell is one of my favorite shells. Now let's clear the terminal and let's see if timeshift is installed. Nope, it's not. So let's fix that by doing a sudo pacman-S timeshift-autosnap, which should pull in from the Manjaro repositories the actual timeshift package, which it just did. So now that that's installed, before we do anything else, let me close the terminal here and go to, so right click on the desktop, you get this open box menu. Let's go to Applications, System, and then there's Timeshift. So it asks for my password for privilege elevation. And we'll just do the standard BTRFS timeshift configuration here. Let's go breeze through this. You want to do this as soon as possible so you can always roll back in case something gets screwed up or there's a bad update or something. So there it is. There's our as installed Kronos snapshot. Good. So we can proceed. So next, let me open a terminal using Super T as before. Bigger font. Let me see if I can do that grab handle. It's a little challenging sometimes. I'm not going to bother with theming today, but that can be fixed. You can make the grab handles for resizing a little better. Let's check the system services that are currently running. 32 lines. I don't see anything unusual. Firewall rather. Daemon is running. In addition to STDM. And a bunch of other standard things like time synchronization, etc., etc. Looks pretty good. Nothing unusual here. But you guys can take a look at your heart's content. The system install usage, as installed, is a hair over 4 GB. So that's pretty light. Of course, again, as you can see, not much is installed by default out of the box. So let's take a look at what is installed. So you got the Sakura Terminal, File Manager, web browsers, Firefox, applications. This is what's under accessories. Under development, under graphics, under multimedia, network, Office. It's just a PDF viewer. Settings, a bunch of settings, configurations here. You can configure Openbox and other things. So Norse Solid is the default widget theme. You can change the default font size here. There's Rally, Redmond, Thin Ice, High Contrast, Crux, Clear Looks, Adwaita Dark, and Adwaita. Yeah, Norse Solid seems fine enough. You can change the color scheme here. The icon theme as well. It comes with a few icon themes. A whole bunch of different mouse cursor themes. Pretty cool. You can adjust some more fonts here. All right, so let me close this here. So these are places. Nothing unusual here. That's a screenshot. Delayed screenshot, 5 and 10 seconds, etc. More settings. Openbox settings. Polybar. Conky. Oh, looks like Conky may not be installed. There's an invalid output. A little glitch there. That won't stop us, will it? And let's see, under shortcuts, I've got this for easy access to config files. So let's launch the file manager. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Click help and then about. This is PCMan FM version 1.3.2, pretty standard for Openbox. Let's see if Samba shares access is enabled. So SMB : / 10.1.2, and that's my test server, my test Samba server, and it looks like operations is not supported, so you'll have to install the GVFS SMB package to get that functionality, which we'll skip today. So that's SMB or Samba, or if Windows file share access is not enabled by default. That's that. Next, let's move on to the latest Mabox ISO and do the same for comparison. All right, let's boot with open source drivers as before for Mabox Linux to keep things fair and balanced. And there we go. As expected, we have the boot process, fairly quick boot. Oh, very nice live desktop environment with Conky and nice keyboard shortcut cheat sheet there on the left. Pretty cool. Let's do the xrandr thing. And we want this mode. So we'll put in xrandr -- output. Virtual -1, that's our KVM screen. And -- mode, 1920 by 1080, as before, to make this KVM use more of the available screen real estate. Again, once again, if you have a bare metal install, you won't have to do this, most likely. So let's do the Mabox Linux installer, and once again, we're installing via Calamares 22.02 Herbalth in Linux. So we'll just breeze through this again. I don't want to bore you guys. Do the same configuration as with the Community Edition. So ButterFS, root file system, no swap. Since it's such a light system, we don't really need swap for this demo. We'll call this computer Mabox1. I'll give the user account Steven a password. Enter it twice and use the same password for the administrator account. And we'll click next here. Check the summary. All looks good. We'll click install. Install now. And I'm going to skip over much of this stuff. Again, we want to not bore you guys, hopefully. I think we've all seen Calamares installs enough for this year already. Let's restart now because it's done. And there we go. Instead of SDDM, Mabox uses LightDM by default. So let's log into LightDM. There we go. We've got a nice welcome to Mabox 22.02 Herbolth. If I pronounced that correctly, I must be mangling it. Not sure. If somebody can correct me down in the comments section, please do so. Okay, let me fix the configuration for Openbox by editing .config in my home directory. Openbox auto start. And looks like we've got a nice screen resolution section here. So let me just add mine because everything else is commented out. xrandr -- output virtual -1, and we'll use -- mode 1920 by 1080. All right, that looks good. Let's save this file. And let's log out. Where's log out? Oh yeah, it's at the top here. Logged out, and it's logged back in again. Entering the password. And there we go. That looks a lot nicer and less blurry. We'll return to the welcome screen in a bit. First things first, let me do a super T as before, and let's make this font size a little bigger. I think this is Terminator, this terminal emulator. Make the window a little bigger. And let's do, as before, a free -h, and some more things are running here. So instead of 300 and something megabytes, we have 419 megabytes used. The machine is still 4 gig KVM. And here's the file system table. Pretty much the same as with the Community Edition. All the defaults are good with me and are ready for time shift. Let's check the terminal. The kernel, rather. It's a slightly older 5.15 LTS kernel, back from February. So if we type neofetch, which is installed this time already, we've got 900 packages here. The window manager is Openbox. I don't see any XFCE desktop environment here. It's a little bit different here. The terminal is Terminator. And we're just shy of 400 or 500 megabytes consumed. So again, very light environment. Yeah. Okay. So let's do a PAMAC update. Looks like PAMAC is installed as well, not just neofetch. A bunch of packages to update, including a kernel update. So let's let it do its thing. And yeah, it's installing the latest LTS kernel. A very good choice as a default for Mabox. As with the Community Edition, they're both using the same kernel. A restart is required for the changes to take effect. So let's do that. by typing sudo reboot. And what's the password? You might be able to get away with just a simple reboot without the sudo, but yeah, whatever. And we're back. So let's log in. This should be our freshly updated system. All right. Let's see here. Let's minimize the welcome screen one more time because we have more steps to accomplish. First of all, let's open up Terminal Emulator. Bigger fonts. Let's see if I can get that grab handle. My mousing skills have deteriorated in my old age. All right, so Timeshift is not installed, so we've got to do like we did with the Community Edition and do a pamac install Timeshift -autosnap, which will automatically snapshot your system with every system update. That's why I like Timeshift AutoSnap. And it pulls in Timeshift as well for the Manjaro repositories. There we go. It asks for a restart again because you'll need to do a systemctl enable now crony.service. We won't do that today. To save time, this video is going to be long enough as it is. Let's do a simple reboot. It's asking for a reboot. Let's do it. There we are. Nice and quick. These slim systems are so speedy. All right. What's next? Let us right-click for the main menu. Let's go to System. And there's Timeshift System Restore Utility. It's going to ask for our password. And let's do as before, the standard ButterFS configurations. They're all perfectly fine. Timeshift does a real good job of this. And let's create our first snapshot. And there we go. So you can see, should something get screwed up from this point forward, we can always roll back to this snapshot we've just created. Okay, let's open up the terminal again. And, do the same thing. Continue to do the same things we did with the CE edition earlier. So we want a fair comparison here, right? So let's do a systemctl -- type equals service. Hit enter. And pretty much the same stuff as before. We've got LightDM instead of STDM. Nothing unusual here. I'll leave this up here so that you guys can take a look over my shoulder, so to speak, as to what the out-of-the-box service load looks like. You can compare this directly with the CE edition earlier. So you can see more of the detailed differences between the two distros. So df-k shows, instead of 4 GB, it's 6.3 GB, give or take, as installed. So about 2.3, if my math is correct, 2.3 gigs more. So there's a lot more stuff installed here in Mabox as opposed to CE. All right, so this is our main menu. We've got a whole bunch of configuration applets here. Tint2, conkeys. You can configure the composer for PyCom if you want. For notifications, screen resolution you can do here as well. LXRandR, you can save it. You don't have to edit any configuration file. If you don't want to, you can just use this utility. Login manager settings, mouse, etc., etc. Yeah, a lot of Mabox stuff. Accessories, this is what's in accessories, a whole bunch of things. They've got Genie as the editor and Meld under development. Graphics, got a bunch of things here. Multimedia, looks like this. Internet, we've got Firefox and a mail reader. Office, nothing much here. Settings, so here are all your settings you can do. A whole bunch of, including Manjaro Settings Manager. That's very handy. CE does not have the Manjaro Settings Manager. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Under System, this is what we have. And it's about Mabox Linux 22.03, I think from November of 21, November of last year. But it's up to date, so it's not stale or anything, I think. All right, let's see what we've got here for the file manager. And as before, we have PCMan FM 1.3.2. Very cool. Let's see if SMB is enabled here. We connect to my test server with smb://10.1.10.2. Can't talk today. Sorry about that. And there are my Windows shares. Pretty cool. So that's already configured. All right, let's look at the welcome screen for Mabox 22.03, Herbolth. If you click on the update system here, I think we already did that. So let's do the kernel. So you can see kernel 5.15.28-1 is LTS. It's recommended, and it's running. And you can install other kernels as well, because you've got all the Manjaro settings here. As you can see, this is very cool, like a regular Manjaro. This is more Manjaro than the CE version, if you ask me. Very strange. Mabox gives you more access to Manjaro. Here's a nice little applet, Manjaro application utility. So this gives you a quick access to install other more popular applications, including various office suites. Yeah, you've got Asian support there under extended language support. Ebook reader, text editors. Nothing too big. These are kind of a short list. Printing, you got Manjaro printing dialog. PDF readers, graphics creation tools, photo managers, video and movie programs, audio applications, media recording and editing, chat, backup, Deja Dupe, and Back in Time. I would definitely recommend you explore at least those for offline backups, not just rely on Timeshift. Password manager, apps, KeePass, Bitwarden, and NPass. All right. What's this asterisk? Oh, okay. Interesting. Different things. If you click on advanced, you get additional virtual computing options here. I'm using Virt Manager for this KVM. Can't recommend it highly enough. It's a super performant virtual machine management system. Quick start guide. That opens up Firefox. So here you go. There's the latest ISO image location given. So a very nice quick start guide from Mabox. I heard great things about the developer. Developer is very helpful to get in touch with if you have any issues. Super friendly here. Let's go to the website from Mabox. So you can see right off the bat, it shows you the various theming options you might have to generate interest, probably. So it's lightweight and fast, fresh software, free, stable, and has the aforementioned Mabox tools. Yeah, this is a much more polished and complete experience for Openbox on Manjaro compared with CE. No question about it. Huge difference. On the forum, so this is the maboxlinux.org forum, and they do have a bunch of topics here and some conversations here. Of course, this is a much smaller community compared with Manjaro proper. But as I said just now, I hear great things about the community, very friendly community. So if you have any issues, check out the forum. For the project development, Mabox has a comprehensive Git repository for the tools, the menus, utilities, everything you can imagine. It's pretty much available on GitHub. So open source, free for your consumption. What's not to like? Open source software is amazing. So got the IRC channel here. And here you can donate to the project. If you really like to use Mabox and think it's worth your while, Mabox provides a PayPal link. If you'd like to make a small donation, I'm sure they would appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. And that's that. As you can see, superficially at least, they are very similar as expected, since they are both built on top of a Manjaro base with an OpenBox environment. To me, Mabox is a much more complete and polished distro than the Community Edition, and so given the choice, would be my strong preference. If you seek a super lightweight and rolling Linux distro, give Mabox your consideration. You might be pleasantly surprised. For me, I would probably just do a base Arch install and configure OpenBox on top of it, since I'll be ending up doing so much tweaking anyway. There you have it. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, take care.